Hello, and welcome to today's morning mobility session. As usual, this is going to be 20 to 30 minutes of gentle mobility designed for seniors, but all are welcome. The only things that you need are your body, maybe a yoga mat or a soft place to lay on the ground, and a wall or a chair, something to hold on to for a little balance assistance. So we'll get started with our first circuit of 3 movements. And this is going to start with some arm circles. I'm going to face this direction just so I can show you how big of a circle I'm aiming for with my arms. Really trying to keep them tight to the body. We're going to go backwards for our first few, and then eventually we'll do them in a forward motion. So I'm raising the arms forward, bringing them up towards the ceiling, and then trying to keep them close as I move them back behind me. It's totally okay if your circles are a little bit smaller than mine, or your hands have to stay a little bit wider to be comfortable. That's totally okay. Just do what you can. And now we'll change directions and reverse that circle. Like with all of our mobility exercises, it's good to keep things slow and not go too fast. We're trying to give that joint time to move around in the socket. So don't rush it and just go at a nice, easy pace. Last one. And rest. Good. Our second one is going to be for the hips with some hip circles. We're going to use our balance assist for this one, just lightly having your fingers on the wall or holding onto a chair or a dresser, anything that you have. Stand nice and tall and lift one leg out in front of you. It's okay if yours needs to be a little bit lower, but then we're going to bring the knee out to the side, behind you, and then down with that foot still lifted, and then reverse, side, and back to the front. Then we'll repeat. Knee goes out, back, and knees together, back, side, and to the front. When you do this, try to keep the torso mostly tall and not bend forward too much, especially as you're in the back part of this movement. Really focus on staying tall, keeping that rotation in the hip, going nice and slow. We're doing 5 on each side. This is our last one. This one's a little bit more work than the first one. And rest. Good. And then switch directions. Hold on with the other hand. Think about staying nice and tall as you bring the knee up, side, and back, reverse, side, and to the start. Side, back, down, back, side, front. And as always, it's okay to go at your own speed, as long as you're not going too much faster than I do. If you need to slow it down, if your range of motion looks a little different, if you need to pause for a moment, it's totally okay. Just meet your body at whatever pace feels comfortable. And rest. Very good. Alrighty. Then our last one is going to be back to an upper body focus. We are going to do some kind of bow and arrow style rotations where we start with our hands out in front of us, and then I'm going to take this hand and pull it back like I'm pulling a bow and arrow, bring my hand all the way so that I'm completely open to the side, and then do the other one, reaching back and working your way back to the front. So I'm pulling my elbow back, bow and arrow style, reach, and then reverse back to the front. And so doing it this way helps us squeeze our shoulder blades together, especially as you're drawing your elbow back. So think about that pinch between your shoulder blades as you rotate, and come forward. One more for this side. Pull the elbow back, extend, and come forward. Very good. All right, so as per usual, we are going to do each circuit 2 times. So we'll go back to our arm circles to start our second time through. So feet are just a few inches apart. We're going to start with backward circles. So just following along with me, making sure that you aren't going too fast. Maybe seeing if that range of motion has warmed up a little bit now that you've done this once. I find that's the power of repetition with mobility, is the first time you're really working out a few of the kinks, getting the body used to the movement. And then the second time through is when you can really kind of groove it out and get a little bit more range of motion, and it might just feel smoother overall. Now we'll reverse, bring the arms back, up and down. Making sure that you're not doing anything funky at the wrist or the elbow. Those are just relaxed. A lot of our focus is in that shoulder blade, that shoulder socket. We'll do one more, taking your time, and rest. Good. All right, back to the hips with our hip circles. Holding on for support, balancing on one leg, starting with that knee lifted up, then go side, back, and knees together, back, side, and front. Really staying tall. It definitely engages some glute when we do this back lifting part. So if you're feeling that engaged, that's totally okay. Totally normal. Also, balancing on this leg, the planted leg, engages a lot of those muscles. So it's okay for mobility to feel a bit like you're working those muscles as we're working the mobility. After we finish this one, we have one more on this side. Taking your time. And to the side. Finishing at the front. Good. All right, take a moment, deep breath, and we'll do that second side. Getting in position, lifting that knee, and we're going for 5 times. Go at your own pace, or stay with me. Knee stays as lifted as is comfortable for you. It's okay if your knee has to drop a little bit, but think about keeping it as lifted as you can. We've got 2 more. Make sure to breathe. Last one. Lifting using that glute and rest. Good. Alrighty, then back to our third one of our bow and arrow style rotations, starting with those hands forward, elbow pulls back, shoulder blades squeeze together, extend, and back to the start. Alternating each side, going at your own pace. Staying nice and tall, making sure that torso doesn't lean forward or backward. Just keeping all of our joints stacked from your head, shoulders, hips, down to your feet. Good. Squeezing the shoulder blades open and close. We'll hit one more on each side, open. Squeeze the shoulder blade. Last one. And rest. Good. All right, now we're going into our floor portion of exercises. So make your way down onto a comfortable surface, and we'll start laying on your back. So maneuver your way there and then have your knees bent and feet just about shoulder width apart, starting with a nice comfortable position on your back. We're going to do a glute bridge with an abduction. And so we're going to bridge up. Abduction just means pushing the knees away from each other, bringing them back in, and then hips come back down. So I'm lifting up, pulsing out by bringing the knees away from each other about 2 to 3 inches, and back down. Up, out, in, and down. Make sure that if you're feeling this one at all in your lower back, you tuck your hips before you lift. So pressing your lower back to the ground first, then lift up, pulse out, and back down. Taking your time. 2 more, lift, pulse, and down, lift, abduction, pushing the knees out, back, and down. Very good. That's our first one. Our second one is going into some mini windshield wipers. So for this one, we're going to lift the feet off the ground, keeping the knees tucked. I like to have my knees at 90 degrees. If it's more comfortable to keep yours tucked in, that's okay. And then hands are just a little bit out to your sides on the floor. Then with a range of motion you can control, you're going to drop your knees towards the side, maybe going about halfway before controlling them back to the top. Then go to the other side, about halfway, or till you feel that core engage. Might get some pops in your spine. Totally normal. Halfway. Again, the goal with this one isn't for speed. Should take the same time to lower the knees as it does to raise them. Not rushing through either part. And lift back up. And back to the top, and then rest. Very good. All right, now our last one, moving up to the upper body. We're going to do a chest fly to overhead motion. So I'm going to start with my hands up and together above my chest. Then I'm going to bring them wide down to the ground. Then bring them up overhead. And then back to the start. So kind of a weird type of swimming motion. You can imagine your hands moving through water. Kind of creating a semicircle. So hands fall down to the ground like a chest fly. Then you bring them straight up overhead. And then raise them back up to the top. Let's see, one of my hands kind of runs into the wall, but keep your hands both going all the way to the floor. Raise up overhead, and then bring them back to the top. We'll do 2 more. Hands fall, chest fly. Swoop arms up overhead, and bring them back up. Last one, arms fall wide. Up to overhead, and to the start. Very nice. All right, and that's our second circuit. Kind of a nice circuit, not too challenging, but hitting a mix of lower body, torso, and upper body. So we'll go back to that glute bridge abduction. Again, tucking my hips by pressing that spine into the ground before the first one. Then we'll lift, pulse out, and come back down. At the top, we're looking for full hip extension. So I'm not overshooting, just extending my hips all the way, pushing out and coming back down. Also making sure hips aren't too low. Aiming for that full locked out position. If you can manage it, and holding that while you do the abduction. Lifting up, pulse out. We've got 2 more. Keep that core a little bit engaged. And the last one here, lift up, pulse out, and back down. Very good. Alrighty, then it's time for those mini windshield wipers. Hands a little bit wide away from the body, just to help you grip the floor. And then with your feet lifted up, drop those knees halfway to the ground. Come back up. Other way, halfway to the ground, controlling it both ways. So we're using our core a little bit here, but also mostly getting the mobility at our sides. Taking your time, feel free to go slower than me, or if it feels good to only lower your knees just a little bit, that's okay. While also making sure to breathe. After this one, we've got 2 more. One more to the left, back up, and last one to the right, and back up. Good. All right, let those feet relax down, and then we'll get ready for our upper body, starting with hands up and together, palms together, letting the arms drop down to the ground. Bring them straight up overhead, and then back to the start. Arms fall wide. Straighten them as much overhead, keeping that elbow straight as much as your body allows. Back to the top. Chest fly. Arms go up and overhead. Lowering down. Letting your arms get as close to the ground as you can. Everybody's level of tightness, especially at the chest and shoulder, can be really different. Often for a lot of men, that can be a really tight area. So if you notice that your chest is especially tight when you're lowering down to this position, just get as close to the ground as you can before coming back up. Last one. Lower down, arms up overhead, and back to the top. Very nice. Alrighty, that concludes our floor portion. So make your way back up to standing to do our final circuit. And we'll start just on your mat or with your feet about 2 inches apart. And we're doing a upper body bent arm lift. So for this one, I'm going to think about being a puppet as I bring my elbows to this position, rotate, and then straighten my arms overhead. Back to this bent elbow, rotate down into a puppet, and then straighten the arms down. So it's a bit robotic, this one, but we're getting some internal and external rotation at the shoulder. So think about lifting up to 90 degrees, rotating through while keeping that 90-degree bend. And same thing as you lower back down. We've got 2 more. Rotate, straighten, and flip back down. 1 more. Rotate through and straighten and back to the start. Very good. Alrighty. Second one is going to be a side flexion with a hip shift. So this one is one that you might be familiar with. We're going to do a type of side bend where I like to have one hand on my head, behind my head, the other hand straight down. I'm going to reach these fingers towards the ground, but I'm also going to send my hips to the side and then straighten back out. So I'm reaching down, but I'm also pushing my hips straight out to the side. I'm not twisting at all. I'm purely keeping it all lateral movement, reaching down, pulling back up, Hips shift over and come back. Last one for this side, hip shift and back to the start. Good. Switch arms. Think about reaching fingertips to the floor as you send your hips to the other direction and come back up. So you can see if we just were reaching down, we do get a nice stretch on that upper part of the rib cage, but by sending all of the hips, we elongate that stretch and help practice moving the hips laterally to the side. You can think about crunching the ribs together on this side and then straightening out. Last one, reach and straighten back out. Very good. Alrighty, and then our last one is going to be a ankle mobility exercise with some rotating the foot to the side. For this one, you can keep your heel on the ground and have one foot just out in front of you. Then with my big toe, I'm first going to think about rotating inward and then back to the start, rotating outward and back to the start. Rotate inward, almost like you're pivoting off of your heel in the ground. One direction and then the other. This one might feel a little bit challenging to coordinate at first, but let yourself get used to it. I'm bringing my big toe as far inward as I can, back to start, and then my pinky toe outward, back to start. One more time for this side, inward, and then back, outward, and back. Very good. Then just switch sides, using your heel as a pivot. Big toe rotates in and back. Pinky toe rotates outward and back. This is a good one to see if you notice any differences side to side. You might notice that it's easier to rotate inward on one leg than the other. That's why it's always good to work one side at a time for certain things. Try not to move the rest of your body too much. We're really isolating the movement to this area. One more time each way in, back to the start, and out, and back to the start. Very good. Alrighty, we'll do one more round of these and then we're done. So going back to our bent arm rotations, starting with hands down, elbows come up, rotate through and press, elbows come down, rotate through and lower. Puppet, field goal, press, field goal, puppet, and back down. Good. Taking your time, even as you get the hang of it, don't rush through that rotation. Also getting a little overhead mobility at the top. We'll do two more. Elbows staying 90 degrees. Don't forget to breathe. Back down through that rotation. And last one. Keeping those elbows really nice and 90 degrees as we rotate through this last one. And rest. Very good. Alrighty, second one is that hip shift. I'll give you a moment just to catch your breath and get in position here. Feet are just a few inches apart. One hand is behind your head. And then, so if I have my right hand behind my head, I'm going to try to send my hips to the right as I reach down and straighten back up. Hips shift, back up. And so if that hip shifting doesn't come super naturally to you at first, just give it time. Sometimes when we ask our body to move in a new plane or kind of in a new motion, it can just take a little bit to build that coordination. So it might not mean that anything's wrong, just might need a little bit of time to figure out how to keep that movement purely lateral versus adding some sort of twisting movement to it. Last one. and switch. Good. So other side, hand behind the head, fingertips reach down. This time, if you've got your left hand on your head, you're sending your hips to the left. Reach and straighten. Make sure you're not doing anything too crazy with your head or your neck. Just keeping it nice and straight. Reach and stand tall. Reach. Back up, last one, reach, and back up. Perfect. Alrighty, and then our last one is going to be that ankle rotating inward and outward, that heel just a little bit in front of you. I like to be a little bit bent sometimes in this other knee. Rotate that toe in, and then rotate that toe outwards. Little big toe rotates in. Back to start. Good. I'm kind of pausing in between the two, rotating in, and then pausing for just a second before I rotate to the other side. Using the heel on the ground as a pivot point. Last one each way. And rest. Good. And then our other side, get that foot set in position, rotate and rotate. Maybe seeing if you can get a tiny bit of extra range of motion doing it the second time, but don't force it, just let it come naturally. Big toe rotates in, pinky toe rotates out. One more on each side. And rest. Very good. Alrighty, well, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you feel a little bit looser and limbered up, ready to take on whatever sort of exercise or activity you have today. If you want more information, make sure to head over to the HelloStrengthSeniors Instagram page and look at our link tree for all sorts of other information, including how you can support these videos. And I hope to see you next week for more morning mobility.